I think there are things you should definitely not be doing on a Royal Caribbean cruise, and I'm not just talking about rules that are in place that the cruise line has. I'm talking about etiquette, because I think that generally when I go on a cruise, or really anywhere in my life, I try not to be that guy. I try not to be the person who's not only doing the wrong thing flagrantly, but also like just not causing a problem. And I think most people are pretty good about this. But when it comes to cruising, just like a lot of other forms of vacation and travel there are certain unwritten rules, and there are written rules as well. And really, when it comes down to it, I think the thing that annoys most other cruisers the most is what people shouldn't be doing, but yet they do it anyway. We get a lot of questions about this, quite frankly. Probably number one with a bullet are chair hogs, because chair hogs are something that's kind of in this gray area of Royal Caribbean's rules. I mean, they're an issue. If you've been on a Royal Caribbean cruise ship on a sea day, when it's nice out, and you try to go up to the pool deck at, like, I don't know, anytime after 10 a.m., good luck finding a chair. I think this issue has been not as prevalent on, say, the Icon class ships, not because people are better behaved on that ship, but because there's just simply more chairs, so I can usually find something. But it's been a problem. And the issue is, I'm not talking about people that, like, spend all day up there. What I'm talking really about are people that go up to the pool deck at, like, 6 and 7 a.m. or whatever, put their towels down, and then disappear, and then roll back in later. That's really what my definition of a chair hog is. You know, obviously, if you're going to be up there, and you're like around, I don't think that's a chair hog. I'm talking about people who really reserve chairs, or somebody who goes up there and is there, but they reserve like a row of chairs because eventually their family might show up, around lunchtime or so. Technically, Royal Caribbean does two things to combat chair hogs. First and foremost, you've probably seen them if you've been on a cruise recently. They have these like elastic band signs that go on some chairs, say, please, use only your chairs you need. I forget what the verbiage is, but basically it tries to warn against chair hogs. And theoretically, they have crew members that periodically go around like meter maids and figure out who's not using their chairs and take their belongings and free up the chair. And they put their belongings back at the desk, if you will. I mean, I say theoretically because I think it's more theoretical than actually in practice. I mean, in practice, Royal Caribbeans just basically look the other way. For them, it's a lose-lose situation. If they enforce the rules, well, whoever was the chair hog is going to be upset about it. It's a negative experience. But the people, obviously, that are looking for a chair are having a negative experience as well. So I think they just let things go their course, and at least people can be mad at each other and not the cruise line. But that's a different story altogether. Suffice to say, I mean, what I do is try not to be part of the problem. If it's really important for you to get up to the pool deck, get up there early. I certainly would not do what some people recommend, which is, just move their stuff out of the way or whatever. I don't look for a confrontation on my cruise. I'm not the chair hog police either. It's not my place to do so. If it's important, get up there and get your seat. I mean, if you're up there before, 11 a.m., I think you're going to find a chair by the pool. It's really the folks that roll in the afternoon, and really the folks who don't clear their stuff out because they go out to lunch to go take a nap and don't come back. That becomes more of a problem. Now, chair hogs don't bother me nearly as much as number 2 on my list, which is people who smoke where they're not supposed to. This has become a real problem. I think it's probably one of the biggest issues in my experience of guests behaving badly, where people are smoking or vaping in places they're not allowed to. This is especially true in the casino, where it seems like people just either don't care or unaware, probably don't care about the rules. And vaping has really gotten out of control. I think there's 2 issues here. And actually, it's interesting to me. It's amusing, really, that it's actually the cigarette smokers that aren't so much the problem as much as the marijuana smokers and, of course, the vapors. First and foremost, you're not allowed to smoke marijuana anywhere on the ship. It's not that Royal Caribbean's being a prude. It's that you're in international waters or in a different country. The rules are different. Bottom line is you can't smoke marijuana anywhere on the ship, and yet people still do it anyway. But people that vape, especially the vapors who, blow the smoke like in their shirt or up in the air, like no one's going to notice it. And this is especially true when I'm at a bar. I don't care what's in the vape. I don't care what the vapor is made out of. It's the rules. You're not supposed to do it. Period. End of story. Not to mention the fact I don't want to inhale it. I don't want to be near it. I don't want to smell it. And for those of you that are sneaking on marijuana, for the love of God, please sneak on better quality marijuana. It always seems like whoever brings it on board and is sneaking on board always has the jankiest, cheapest stuff out there. And it's like, wow, that is stinky. But of course, you should not sneak it on at all, but I digress. Moving over to the buffet, you really should not use your hands for anything at the buffet. It always surprises me when I see people that actually use their hands. I mean, it can be a little innocent, like grabbing a bread roll or a cookie, but It's really flagrant when like people actually grab food from the buffet, or worse yet, put it back over there. I mean, there's a little bit of a sanitary consideration here when we talk about the buffet. And this goes to, occasionally you'll see stories about like norovirus outbreaks, things of that nature. In a lot of cases, it does stem from this sort of behavior. I mean, you should also wash your hands when you go in the buffet, but, there's that. I asked my wife about what bothers her, and actually her number one thing was elevator etiquette. I don't know why this is so strange for some people, but when you're waiting for an elevator and the elevator door is open, the first thing you should do is stand to the side and let people out. Because sometimes the elevators are full and there's someone in the back who's trying to get out. Let them out there. And then once everyone's gotten out of the elevator, then you go in. Otherwise, not only are you being rude to the people trying to get out, but you're going to create a log jam. They can't get out. You can't get in. It just makes it, take longer. So it not only is it polite to let people out of the elevator first, it benefits you to do so because it also frees up space in the car. Something else really inconsiderate are people that play music loudly. It happens more often than you think. I've experienced it a couple different times where people bring on speakers and just blast their music. I mean, blast their music. In today's age of AirPods and noise canceling headphones, I'm always surprised by it. I'm guessing they're trying to like establish a party vibe in their cabin for whatever reason. But I mean, those cabin walls are extremely thin. I'm not talking like, well, there's a little bit of a muffled sound. I mean, when you're blasting music, it's going to come through. So really, really, you need to like be cognizant of that. I mean, Royal Caribbean does allow speakers, although like buried in their app or cruise compass, it says like a perfect day, they're not allowed. I mean, good luck enforcing that. I mean, I just don't know anyone who would actually read it, even if they were a rules abiding person. But don't blast your music. I mean, you want to listen to your music, put on your AirPods or your headphones or whatever. And if you do need to put on music without them, I mean, put them at a very low volume that you can hear it, like TV volume, basically. Speaking of volume issues, if you're at a show on a Royal Caribbean ship, whether it's the Aqua Theater or the comedy show or any show in a theater, in a seated venue, you should not be having a full-blown conversation at normal levels. Obviously, it's okay to whisper something to somebody sitting next to you, but having a full conversation is such a faux pas, especially at normal speaking volume. And I mean, I am always surprised people are just doing it. Like, they're just like oblivious to the fact that number one, I can hear it and other people around them can hear it. Number two, the performers can hear it. And number three, it's completely disruptive. I mean, obviously, if there's an issue, excuse yourself, go out to the theater, take a phone call, talk to somebody, whatever you need to do, right? But I mean, you should not be talking during the show. And you're on a cruise ship. It's not Broadway in New York. I get it. But that doesn't excuse you from disrupting other people's, experience within the theater. So there's your volume things. And then one more thing about how people talk, I suppose, is, of course, having full-blown yelling matches. I mean, listen, I have been there where there's an issue and your blood boils and you want to lash out at a family member, a friend, or even a stranger. But I can tell you afterwards, when you think about it, yelling and creating a scene just isn't the right solution for it, right? Now, of course, this is one of those easier said than done bits of advice, because when you become frustrated, you're not going to start remembering, oh, what was that podcast Matt was talking about? But, really, this is one of these things where I try to remember, okay, this is not the place for it. And if it's like my kids getting, me upset, or my wife and I getting into an argument, let's go step into the cabin and have this. It's not worth it to obviously have it hash out on deck. And obviously, if there's an issue with another passenger, like let's say it's just like a rando, right? Well, number one, it's never worth it. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times someone's annoyed me. And then like 15 minutes later, I was like, well, it bothered me, but like, I'm just glad I didn't make a scene out of it. Cause again, it just wasn't worth it to, become a spectacle in that moment. I have a couple more things here on my list of things that you shouldn't be doing. Annoying habits, really, on a cruise. Number one is holding up the disembarkation line. All right. This one always surprises me. Last morning of the cruise, rather. You're getting off the ship. There is one thing you must do when you disembark the ship. Scan your SeaPass card. That's it. And yet, there will always be somebody who, what SeaPass card? Where's my SeaPass card? You have my SeaPass card? I left it in my room. Don't get in line without your SeaPass card. I guess, they're new cruisers and they wouldn't know necessarily. And maybe it's like a hotel, because when you go to a hotel on land, you just walk off, right? I mean, you don't even need to check out anymore because it's automatic. That's not the case here. They need to have a head count. And I think Royal does a pretty good job of making announcements, and especially when there's a line. Like, it's one thing if you're on like a new ship like Icon or Star or Utopia, where the disembarkation process is so efficient that there's not even a line on their ship. But on older ships that still have lines, it never ceases to amaze me that there's somebody who doesn't have their CPAS card ready, or they left in their cabin, or their kids. Like, when you walk off a ship in general, no matter what, when it's the last day of the cruise, or you're disembarking the ship to go to a port visit, always have your CPAS card in hand, have your kids' CPAS cards. I mean, don't get in line without it. And yeah, it still happens. Speaking of kids also, a little bit of advice for all the parents out there. If you want to register your kids for a kids club, Adventure Ocean, wonderful. The best time to do that is on embarkation day, in the afternoon when they have the open house. The last thing you want to do is be that family when it's time for check-in, like at the actual session. So like, 7:00 in the evening, to then be like, okay, I want to register my kid, because what you're basically doing is holding up the entire line for people that are already registered and simply want to check them in, drop them off, and be on their way. There's always like one family. Now, let's say you've missed out on the registration period because maybe your kid didn't want to go to it, or you changed your mind, whatever. These things happen, right? I would recommend actually going like more in the middle of the session, not at the very beginning. So the session begins at 7:00 that first night, come in around like, 8 or so. Like, give the people time to check everybody in. You just never want to do it at the very beginning of a session time, because that's when it's busiest and you're just going to be that person in line. And last but not least, you should never, ever, ever be disrespectful to crew members. There's never an excuse to be rude. Crew members work so hard, and I get it. Sometimes things are out of your control and you're upset, you're angry, things are not going the way you expect it to. And maybe even you're being told there's a rule that you don't agree with. Fine. These things all happen. But there's never an excuse to ignore a crew member, yell at them, or lecture them like they're a child. If you have a problem with a policy or something's not going your way, go to guest services and explain your issue. Even when you're feeling hot under the collar and upset and things are not going your way, you explain it in a professional way. Like, you understand that the person talking to you is not the arbiter, right? They're not the person who came up with the rule necessarily, or they're not the person who, hasn't fixed the issue, but work with them. I guarantee if you have a problem, being polite is going to help your cause and them wanting to actually help you out. But if you're being belligerent, I guarantee they're not going to try to help you with your situation. And obviously, if you have a problem with a crew member, speak to their manager, go to guest services, right? Resolve the issue that way. Anyway, there's my list of things that really are annoying habits that other people have, and it still upsets me. I think every single thing on this list are things that I still see, not every cruise, but I could probably knock out 5 or 6 of these on pretty much every sailing. People are just people, the general public, not known for being the best behaved out there. I get it. But if you're listening to this podcast, I hope that you're not part of the problem, and maybe someday this list will go away. But let's face it, it's the general public, so you never know. All right, friends, time to answer listener emails. If I haven't annoyed you yet with this episode, well, I've got some answers to questions you sent me. First email is from Tim Moore from Moore Cruise Adventures. Hey, Mr. Matt, we booked a cruise last year for this year's fall break for the kids and found out it'll be the President's Cruise. This will be our second cruise, and the kids like 5th. And as a new content creator for our channel, we want to cover as much as possible. Will the special events, like, say, a Q&A where they specifically mention that Royal Caribbean blog guy, will those be available to pre-book on the app like I did for shows, or are they first come, first serve, and you have to get there like an hour and a half before the start type of thing? Thanks so much for looking forward to you, and looking forward to getting a picture of you this year. Thanks. So with the President's Cruise, you don't have to pre-reserve. There's no requirement to, you don't have to, and you can't actually pre-reserve them. In the cases of all the events when I was on my first President's Cruise on Utopia this past year in 25, they're all just open. Here's the reality, Tim. It's not that most people don't want to go. There is demand. I think the Common Ground, Michael Bailey, where it's the Q&A event, that's like the big one. But it's held in the theater, and as long as you're there like before it begins, you'll be fine. It's nice. I don't know that they actually sold out of it, but the key is to simply arrive for it. Now, there are sometimes special events like related to entertainment. Those are the ones that require a reservation, like when they have a special entertainer on board. And usually held in a theater, and those will sell out. In fact, it's one of those, actually, if memory serves me correctly, it's not so much that you can book it, it's that you'll be invited to it, because they basically go and start with all the Pinnacle Club members, then Diamond Plus. So they try to offer seats to, the top tier members first, and then everybody else gets a, you can go watch it from somewhere else on the ship, I suppose, virtually. You're not actually going to see it like live, if you will. But I hope that answers your question. It's pretty easy going in that regard. And anything that's like truly special, yeah, you'd be able to pre-book. I remember there was one President's Cruise, I believe it was one in Alaska. There was like an excursion with Michael Bailey, right? And in that situation, yes, obviously you pre-book it, but it would be bookable like an shore excursion that you'd find anywhere else. But for the actual events, like the one you were talking about, the Q&A, yeah, just simply show up. And as long as you're there beforehand, 15 minutes early, which I would do for any show anyway, I think you'll be totally fine. Next email is from Pamela. Hey, Matt, first-time cruisers here. I've been following your YouTube channel and find it super informative. Thought you might be able to help me out. The streaming package, Voom, Surf and Stream on Royal Caribbean. If my husband and myself just want access to use our phones on the ship, can I just purchase this package for 2 devices, my phone and my husband's, or do we need to purchase them separately? The description sounds like you can share the number of devices amongst your party. Just want to make sure I'm purchasing the correct package. Yeah, you got it right. You could, in your situation, you could either purchase a 2-device package or separate 1-device packages. But as you're probably finding, Pam, it's cheaper to get a 2-device package. So nothing wrong with that. I mean, you just have the one shared login. That's the only, it's not a downside. It's just the reality of it. So since you probably trust each other, that shouldn't be a problem. Next email is from Broderick. Hey, good afternoon, Matt. I am extremely thankful to you for sharing your vast experiences at Royal Caribbean. I want to really celebrate my wife's 50th birthday in 2027 on board Symphony of the Seas, which will be homeport in Galveston. For most of your podcast, I want to try especially dining and pamper my wife with a spa day pass and manicure and pedicure on board. My question is, can I rebook all of this in the cruise planner? Also, I'm excited for the recent news you mentioned about the new drink package. 10 alcoholic drinks on the refreshment package is excellent. Keep up the good work. I'm a Royal Caribbean blog fan for life. Well, thank you, Broderick. When it comes to, yes, you can obviously rebook any of those things. You say you want specialty dining and the spa. Those can all be booked in the cruise planner or the Royal Caribbean app. And if there's a better price later on, yes, you can cancel and rebook all the way up until final payment, or not even final payment, up until a couple days before the cruise. And that should be pretty easy there, Broderick. And it's a great idea, actually, to do those things. And definitely pre-book because it will be more expensive on board the ship. Next email is from Joe. Hello, Royal Beach Club looks like a beautiful experience. However, if Coco Key is part of the itinerary, knowing that the experience is similar, but that in addition Coco Key is included in the fare, with the choice to pay for extras of your choice, do you think it's worth paying for the Royal Beach Club if the goal is to go to the beach and the pool? This is a good question. I look at it as this. Coco Key is one day. The Beach Club is a different day. Now, yes, they both have in common beach, and there's a pool experience as well. So they're similar, right? And they're both in the Bahamas. So, right, there's that. But I think for a lot of people, like, that's, one day's goal, and then there's another day. Like, I kind of understand where you're going with this one, but, like, I don't look at it as, oh, we're going to Coco Key, we don't need to go to the Royal Beach Club. Because when you get to that day in Nassau, like, what else are you going to do? You stay on the ship. Okay, fine, I guess. But for a lot of people, I mean, maybe not, been there, done that cruisers. I think a lot of people look to go on a cruise and they want to do something fun every day of the cruise. Like, their port visits aren't like one or nothing, right? And going to multiple beaches isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'd also add the beach at Royal Beach Club is significantly better than the beaches at Coco Key. Coco Key's beaches have never been great. The water clarity is kind of the water color is okay. There's a lot of seaweed at that beach. Like, if you've ever been to South Beach or the Coco Beach Club, you've probably seen there are some areas that are okay. And also Coco Key in general is very rocky. That being said, the Royal Beach Club doesn't have those problems. And there's a completely different vibe at the beach club compared to Coco Key. Now, I would also point out, Joe, to your point, hey, maybe instead what you do is Coco Key, you don't spend any extra money. You go to Oasis Lagoon, you go to South Beach, you go to Chill Beach. Those are all included. You rely on the included food, which, by the way, is great, and I don't have a problem with that at all. And then you spend the money at the beach club, as opposed to, buying a pass to the Coco Beach Club or the Hideaway Beach over at Perfect Day. Does that make sense? But I don't look at it as like, well, you're going to Coco Key one day and the Royal Beach Club or Nassau the next day, so you should only pick one for your beach experience. I think for a lot of people, having 2 beach days isn't a bad thing. I think it's actually a really good thing. And I think the pools are way better also because they're heated at the Royal Beach Club compared to the Oasis Lagoon. Next email is from Jennifer. Hey, Matt, my husband and I have booked a cruise on Adventure of the season in October. We were initially going to Falmouth, Jamaica, and Labadee. However, due to the current travel bans in Haiti, the ports got changed. Now we're going to Grand Turk and Caicos, as well as Puerto Plata in the Dominican. We're a little disappointed as we were looking forward to Jamaica. He really wanted to do the rum tour there. We figured the Labadee would be canceled, but didn't think we'd have to change. They would change 2 ports. So we're trying to look at the new ports online, and we're struggling to find any good videos. If you have any ideas what we can do there? Also, I'm finding conflicting information about when the changes will reflect in the cruise planner and the app. I would love to look at the shore excursion things to do and don't know when it'll be available to do so. I'm hearing some people say it might not reflect till we're on board. Will we be out of luck with excursions? Thank you for all the tips. Your videos have made my husband and I addicted to cruising. Looking forward to more videos. Happy cruising. Jennifer, thanks for the email. So, you probably already figured this out, but you probably already have access to it. When Royal Caribbean makes a change to their itineraries, for whatever reason, it's not instantly reflected in the Royal Caribbean app or the website. It takes a few days, at worst a week, but usually like 3-4 days. It's worse, Jennifer, when you're on a ship, when it's like last minute. When I was on Freedom of the Seas last year and we got our visit to Coco Key canceled, as well as Cozumel, we ended up at the Dominican Republic twice. In that situation, if memory serves me correctly, they actually did not update the app at all because it was so close in. It was like, wait till you're on board. But since you're not going till October, you'll have plenty of time and it'll reflect within, like I said, a couple days, maybe a week at the most. I will say this. I understand your husband wanted to do a rum tour. Falmouth, Jamaica is very disappointing. It's probably, now that Nassau has the Royal Beach Club, I think it's the worst cruise port in the Caribbean. There's just not a lot going on, not a lot of great things, not very compelling things. There's just, it suffers from being too far from everything that's really good, not a lot that's nearby. It's not a great cruise port to begin with. It's just, yeah, whatever. So, in terms of what to do there, Puerto Plata is actually a really easy port. They have a beautiful port facility. And it's a tourist trap, but I gotta say, it's a pretty nice tourist trap. I mean, there's a free, complimentary, whatever you want to look at it, lazy river, a pool you can go to. There are bars in there. You could easily, and I've done this before, I've spent the day just hanging out in there. It's not a bad way. You could also go into the city there. Puerto Plata is obviously just the cruise port, but there's things to do nearby. When I went there recently on Freedom, I got a day pass to one of the nearby resorts. You could do that as well. The advantage there is you have access to the actual ocean, because in the port facility of Puerto Plata, it's just a pool, which may or may not matter to you, but that's something to do there. Turks and Caicos, Grand Turk is definitely requires a shore excursion. I would definitely recommend doing something on the water there. Have a plan. It's not a wing it kind of place. Whereas Puerto Plata, you could kind of wing it. You could start your day just in the port facility and be like, you know what? Let's hop on a taxi and go to the beach and, do something like that. But hope that makes some sense as to what to do in both those places. So thanks for the email. Last email is from Thomas Bisland. Good afternoon, Matt. I just turned diamond not too long ago. I have a cruise coming up in March. I have a question about the drink package vouchers. If I use a drink voucher to order a margarita, could I ask for a bottle of water at the same time? Is that going to use 1 or 2 vouchers at that point? I know if you get the full deluxe drink package, you can ask for a bottle of water with whatever you drink you order, but I didn't know if you do the same with the diamond drink vouchers. Thomas, thanks for the email. So the answer is, it depends. I mean, technically speaking, that would be 2 vouchers. It would be 1 for the margarita, 1 for the bottle of water. In practice, though, and you've experienced this with the drink package, the bartender will usually slip you the bottle of water at no additional voucher cost. It's not guaranteed. And certainly you could do this, say, can I get a margarita? Order the margarita. And when they order it to you, be like, hey, can I also get a bottle of water? And, if they charge you for it, be like, oh, you charged me for it? All right, never mind. That kind of thing. But I would say, in my experience, 90% of the time, they don't charge you for the water bottle, but it's definitely a your mileage may vary situation, because technically the policy is 1 voucher per beverage, and it's not the same as the drink package, because the drink package, they kind of, even though with the drink package is 1 drink per transaction, right? Bottled water is just looked at kind of differently, because it's just, I think they look at it as like, not a necessity, but an aid to make sure people aren't, getting too drunk or sick or whatever. So they just they don't give them away, obviously, but they're more apt to slide you one there. So hopefully my half answer helps you out there, Thomas. Thank you for the email. Thank you to everybody for checking out this episode of the Royal Caribbean Blog podcast. Of course, you can always email me your questions by emailing them to Matt, M-A-T-T, @RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com. Till next time, I'm Matt. We'll talk again real soon.